creators, welcome back to the club. Today we'll be talking about creating good. If you want to learn more about how to start a community-based business or how to creatively use your non-traditional background for good, we've got you. I'm your host, Akila Friends.
And I'm Ebony Chapman.
And today we're joined by two special guests. Let's welcome founders of Aqua Equity Water, Ryan Morgan and Brandon Espy. Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Good. Everything's good.
We are happy to have you. So
yes, this is going to be such a good episode. And I mean, we're not trying to hype you guys up, but at the same time,
sure, you tell that to everybody.
At the same time, I feel like when we talk to businesses or founders, it's, so much more about their business, how they got off the ground, things of that nature. But you guys have a unique twist, I would say, because it's so focused on community. Everything seems to be so focused on that. And, it starts with the founders video that Brandon shared with us and that we'll put a link to in our episode for you guys to see it. So thanks for sending that over. But how about Ryan, Brandon, you guys share that story live. Tell us more about that, the video, the story yourself behind Ryan and getting to where you are and anything else you can share about that story.
Okay. I kind of share what the video, the founder story that Brandon put together in capsules. So basically kind of grew up in one of these urban under-resourced communities like Watts with San Bernardino. And just in my generation was a lot of kids in the neighborhood that didn't have dads around. It was very uncommon to have your dad around. So, naturally you're looking around to the male role models and it wasn't good examples. So a lot of hustlers and gangbanging, just, criminal activities. No secret, I kind of gravitated to that. I kept one foot in sports and football, was really good in high school, but just the streets pulled at me a little too hard. And I ended up going to federal prison 2 weeks after turning 19 for armed bank robbery. So I was running with a crew and that was kind of like our thing. But it was a paradigm shift, obviously. And I remember just being on the floor with the guns to my head and, feeling like, forever, my life is going to change. I'm going to make something better of this. And that first night I was locked up, I said to myself, from this point on, I'm just going to just focus on bettering myself every day and learning and then, being able to give back. So kind of like a long story short, I was able to get out and go to college part-time, junior college and play football. I still had that kind of desire. I was 25 when I got out and went to junior college in Laney in Oakland and got the eye of Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh. He's currently the head coach at Michigan. So he came recruiting me. I went there and it changed my life. I learned how to work hard and we won a national championship and I got a prestigious college degree and I went into the alcohol beverage industry straight. They offered me a job. I didn't make the NFL, so they offered me a job. It was the next best thing before I even graduated. And so I went to work in the alcohol beverage industry. I did that for 12 years and 8 of those 12 years was in management. And it was great. I climbed the corporate ladder and, we had executive suites at Staples Center and trips to Paris and that was all great. But it started to dawn on me when I was going to national sales meetings, just 500 people in the room. And I can count on my hand how many, Black and brown people I'm seeing. So the pat on the back started to wear off. I wanted to bring us in. And so I tried that for a couple of years. I was on the corporate social responsibility board and I got frustrated and I was becoming disgruntled. And so I had the opportunity in the summer of 2019 to get a severance package. And I knew I was capable of, I kind of skipped over in 2018, I got my MBA and I started thinking about entrepreneurship and, taking that frustration off of what I wish that the corporation I was working for was doing and what I could do and, what I could come up with. And so when I had an opportunity to leave in the summer of 2019, I didn't want to step away from the beverage industry and kind of that route to market and what I had gained from that 12 years experience, but I wanted to do something healthy for the community and not exploitation. And so the water, what's the probably thing everybody needs on this earth is water. And I thought about my boy, how to tell the story. It was going to be a brand that we're going to do good and exist to invest in urban under-resourced communities through our profits. And that's takes a story. You got to tell that story. And he's such a storyteller. So he was one of the first people I thought of. And, another of our co-founders, he played football with us. And, the reason why I brought him in, his name is JT Rogan, is because I knew I needed some people from that mantra that we developed playing football together. And so we started off, we launched this business August 2019, and getting it together. And then the brand Aqua Equity, we put it in market in March of 2020, like 3 weeks right before the pandemic and the quarantine hit. So we got into like 25 stores from Long Beach to Santa Monica, like coastal mom and pop stores. And when the quarantine hit, obviously we had to make a decision on our business plan. Everything blew up because who anticipates, quarantine from a global pandemic? But it was kind of like, steering us almost like kind of providence, because then we started focusing more on part of our existence was to invest in the community and our stakeholders in the community of Watts. So you see on our bottle, it says that we invest 10% of our profits into Watts. And at that time, we didn't have any profits, right? We had just started, but the sense of urgency to do something, was pulling at us. And we had been going to the Watts Neighborhood Council, which is a subset of LA City Council. They were calling us up. It was the time when you couldn't get bottled water in the stores. If you remember the first couple of months of the quarantine, they were having to rush to stores. And so they had a lot of senior citizens and folks in Watts, this kind of a food desert that weren't able to get bottled water. So we answered the call and hooked up with another of our co-founders, Sticks, with his nonprofit, Think Watts. And we literally started off caravan of cars and opening the trunks and putting our bottled water in the cars. And Sticks was getting donations from Beyond Meat, these burgers. And we were just going block by block. And it just helped kind of show us what lane we need to be in, and it would the sales revenue was going to come, but we're just going to answer the call, the sense of urgency. And through that process, we hooked up with a great nonprofit called Watts Community Core in the Nickerson Gardens, which is the largest housing projects in the state. And they do a weekly food drive, and they were just getting started when we were just getting started. And it's just been like this kind of like organic connections as word of mouth, and we're out there in the trenches and we see other people in the trenches and other organizations in the trenches, and we see everybody can help each other, and it's been that kind of a roller coaster ride. And I kind of been hogging the mic, so I'll let you get in there.
Just piggybacking off that, definitely been a roller coaster ride, because once you meet one nonprofit, then you're automatically going to meet another and has some other type of cause. And then you're seeing all these different type of causes that you may align with. And while we work with more nonprofits, then we kind of will be able to like more so narrow what impact we wanted to make. Mm-hmm. And that's where we came up with our 3 pillars of the community, education, and environment. And so all our nonprofits, they are involved with us in some type of way. And like usually if we seek out a nonprofit, it's involving one of those 3. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times too, with our nonprofit work, like especially now, like that's a lot of our target audience. A lot of people who, want to see change happen, who want some type of social impact, who may come from either underserved community or more of an urban audience. And that's kind of like the angle that we've been working at. And we haven't, like, we could have easily given some influencer some sum of money to push our product, but we wanted the message to come off in a more of an authentic way and more of a community type of way. Yeah. And so it's why when you see our Instagram, it's not kind of littered with certain ads, but it's littered with like action items and different awareness we bring from other nonprofits, and just highlighting others. In my stories, I try to show what volunteer events are available so our audience can really get engaged in that way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we don't have a crazy following, but the quality of our followers is what has really been like, because we have certain supporters who really just really help put our spotlight, us like being spotlit by certain companies, and them reaching out to us because they genuinely wanted to help now.
Yeah, we get the mic. So I can give him props. Let me give him his props, man, because why we have gotten so much traction, because we can do all the good works in the world, but if nobody really knows about it, we're only gonna get so far. And so from day one, he's found a way to come out with his equipment, that he's invested in personally and capture these good works. We call them donation activations, and help tell that story. And as to the point, we don't have like crazy million followers, but the quality of the people who decided to follow us and the impact. So Ari Lennox was the first one to hear about us, and she posted last summer something of Aqua Equity all the time on her feed, and it just blew us up, and that was a big help. And then we just happened to be in the same place, same time, volunteering, doing our thing. And Melina Matsoukas, the producer, director of Queen and Slim, that movie, and she's done some Beyonce videos. She produces and works with Issa Rae on Insecure. And she saw what we're doing and bought a large amount from us for Juneteenth and made a commitment. It's like, one day I'm going to get you on set. And you don't know how, if that's Hollywood.
Yeah, and when we're like, yeah, thank you. That's great. But at the end of the day, we never fully expect anything from anybody, because people say stuff all the time. But she was a person who was she was about her word.
Yeah, and we don't expect anything, because we're on our mission, right? To invest into Watts and make an impact, and to kind of start a movement with that, and to take that to other under-resourced urban communities. And it's great when people acknowledge that and there to help. But if it doesn't happen, we know we're gonna keep rolling with it, right? And so they just put a little extra gas in the tank.
There's so much to unpack
this
here.
is less than 10 minutes, and we've got
Sorry.
no. This is amazing.
Shut up.
This is not even. I'm just saying, for our listeners, for our viewers, like,
You were giving us
rewind this like
everything.
3 times.
So we're going to just take it back so that we can really like down the steps, because you guys were really like, I'm telling you, the story of yours, like of what you guys are saying, is amazing. So I want to kind of like dial it back to when Ryan was talking about like his incarceration and how that kind of affected him. I know there's a story and a narrative that a lot of former convicted felons, it's really hard for them to get a job, really hard for them to kind of break through in the opportunity. Exactly. And we just want to know, like, it seems that you kind of have a different story to tell with that, where like opportunity either came to you or you made it happen for yourself. And so we kind of want to know, like, how were you able to do that and become successful
in management, corporate America? It sounds like you were able to do that, and it seems like such a barrier for a lot of other folks. So
for sure. I'll tell you, and it goes back to what I learned at University of San Diego, playing on the football team under Coach Harbaugh. And he can tell you, we had some miserable days practicing. We didn't realize, some days you realize what you're soaking up, but they basically want to put you through so much adversity, planned adversity, and show you how you can overcome that. So that when you're facing other challenges on or off a football field that, is extreme adversity, emotionally you're ready, mentally you're ready. And so it was this persistence beats resistance mentality, right? And I got some no's for sure. And just, trying to be mentally fit, and you hear a lot of negativity, you experience a lot of negativity throughout the day. And so just eliminating that and staying positive and feeding myself positivity, and I can do this, and believing in myself. And it's work, it's exercise. It's a different type of exercise, mental, emotional exercise. But persistence, I can boil it down, just being persistent. You keep getting no's, but I'm gonna keep going. Somebody's gonna give me a yes.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you kind of just kept applying, kept reaching out, kept networking, and kind of just made that happen for yourself.
Well, so it was a huge benefit to be a part of University of San Diego, because corporations, companies would come to recruit students there. So they had a wonderful system, especially for student athletes, where in the basketball arena, they would bring in, did you ever participate in that?
Yeah, like job fair thing.
Like a job fair just for student athletes, and they would have 100 like these top companies, strikers, pharmaceutical companies, whatever. And so that's how I met and got my first job in corporate America, is they came on campus. And so meeting me on University of San Diego campus, and then later finding out that I have this, felony, because they first met me in that environment, it helped them be able to digest that and like wow, that's a great story, because we had no idea meeting you, you know what I mean? So being at a prestigious university really helped me get my foot in the door, my first job.
I think that makes sense. I think that's a great point, because I think ideally when you're thinking of someone who has a felony, people already have this like idea in their mind of what that looks like, what that, you know, how that person's going to behave. And the fact that you were like, no, look, I play football, and you presented yourself in a different way, they were able to understand it a little bit better.
Not even present in a different way. In some cases, that showcases the long road that society as a whole has to get to, because, you know, you're the same part, or you grew from that experience. And I'm glad folks at least gave you the opportunity to do that. Like, you know, speaking
100%. And one more thing I'll add to that helped me get my first corporate job, and I didn't realize it, but now I do, because I also been on the corporate side where I was, you know, in the position to hire people for positions. And being a student athlete, a collegiate student athlete, is something corporate America sees a lot of value in, that because the fact that a student athlete has to multitask, they're already taking direction, there's discipline. So when I was on my interview, and my first job was with Gallo, so they have brands like New Amsterdam Vodka and Apothic Wine and Barefoot. So when I was on my interview and he saw my resume, I was on the football team. We had won a national championship at that point. And so we had already got our rings on, and we had our rings given to us. I didn't have it on in the interview. And he said, you're on the football team? I said, yeah. And he said, well, how come you didn't put that on there? I said, well, I didn't think it had anything to do with the business. He said, you come back to the interview. I'm going to come back. I'll be here tomorrow. Redo your resume, put that you're on the football team, wear your ring, come in. And that really helped, like, because it was competitive. There was other students interviewing for this corporation at USD. And then I got to find out that they go to UCLA, USC. So I was competing against prospective hires from all those schools, and, you know, having that football credential, I think won them over.
Yeah, I think for sure, student athlete, 1000%. I mean, you are really in the gym, you're doing in the weight room, you're doing a whole lot, plus school, plus all. I get it. I was also a student athlete, so I understand. He's over there.
Yeah, you know.
Right. What I have to say too, I think another piece is the fact that you guys both met each other and met some of your other co-founders at USD as well. Like, I think it's one thing to know you all went to college together, you know, the dynamics, but it's another thing to say, I'm going to bring you into building this business and building this future for myself. How about you each just share with us, what did you see in each other to say, on your end, Ryan, this is your idea, Aqua Equity. I know I need to bring Brandon in. And on Brandon's end, I hear this and I see that my friend is doing something. I don't want to just look on and support from the sidelines. I want to be a part of this and take it to the next level. I'm curious as to what dynamics and what characteristics you were looking for in each other that other people start businesses with.
I'll go for it and I'll hand off to you. So I was upperclassman already when he came. I think I was a junior and you were a freshman.
Yeah.
You know, and so we did hang around some of the same circles outside of football practice. I remember going to his dorm, and what was your dorm area? Let's go question. He was a little more wild in college than he is now, as you should be, right? But no, even in that, he had a great reputation as his character, somebody you could trust. And obviously I knew his work ethic from being on the football team with him. And if you are able to get a position on that football team, you got to be a grinder. And then I followed him through social media on his career and saw how his career was blossoming from, you know, being on one side of the camera as a model to starting to, you know, get into an entrepreneur mindset and get on the other side of the camera and having his own business. And then developing his storyteller skills through photo and then some photography. And so, like, I was thinking about the business, having somebody who you can trust and somebody you know, familiar with, that's going to work hard. And I needed a storyteller. So it was like, I got to hit him up. And thankfully, thank you, bro. He believed it, because I came to him and all he had was, you know, my vision in words, you know. Yeah. I didn't come to him with the business plan at first, no product. This is the idea, and he was sold on the idea, and you know, we definitely came a long way. Our first bottle looks nothing like this. I mean, it's We're keeping it as a relic, but other than that, we don't even want to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a few relics too for the Black Creators Club. It would never see the light of day.
Yeah, we get it.
I understand.
That's why I saw him.
Project that failed, and
now it's a flower pot.
Yeah, exactly.
Your set looks great, by the way. So I don't know where you came from, but you got there. You there now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ryan. And that really, like, when Ryan came to me, like, even though I hadn't really like spoke him like that in a while, you know, I think I've always had some type of connection to my former football team. Like, even before Ryan, I've worked with several people in like, even like your class you're higher, like Evan Harney, Alex Duke and stuff, and people who like, we automatically trust each other in that type of way because we went through the same thing together. And when you go through certain things, like certain hell weeks, and you had to trust somebody during that time and they like fulfilled that trust, and then kind of that stuff sticks with you. And also like being out here, it's like a different mindset that some people have, because a lot of people out here, it was just a lot different than what we were around in college. You know, a lot of people who want to dream and not take action. Right. But I knew like Ryan was about that action too. And once he came with the product, I was like, I never thought about anything in the water industry. I've been working in the beauty industry at the time. I knew how to sell products through content and marketing that way. And then once I looked more into the water industry and I saw like the potential and like just the angle of the market and like the potential audience you targeted, and then I thought of even just like the future too, you know, and really like what impact and what type of generational wealth I wanted to leave, and really thought like, wow, this could really be something, you know. And then I think like once we saw like the first like design of this, it's when I was really thinking like this could really be something, right? You know. And I think once we got like more into like the Watts Neighborhood Council, and then seeing like the problems and seeing ways that we could get involved, and I was just thinking of like, it kind of reminded me of like my dad and all he did from before when he was a social worker, at that like a behavioral psychologist for at-risk youth. And so and just a certain impact I would see him consistently make when I was growing up. And you know, it was something that I had been kind of missed in my life, that I've been wanting to fulfill, but I've been too busy with all these other distractions. So in a way, this helped kind of like, because ever since I've been pursuing this, I canceled like a lot of my distractions and a lot of certain like connections were like, oh, this would be cool in the future. Yeah, you shift the priority. You know, like this is a priority. Like this could help me and my family in the future, you know? And then like, I know that if and when, I mean, more so when I'm able to fully go into it, it's gonna be no stopping, because I know right now within my industry that it's very few that are better than me, who look like me and know the type of audience I do.
I mean, look what he's done, like, you know, a full-time job and everything on his plate. So yeah, I
mean, it sounds like it was like a perfect partnership that was ready to move from the beginning, like this perfect partnership. We have the idea, we have the brains, we have the marketing and the storytelling. So it was a perfect match made in heaven. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but just even why water? Like out of all the companies we could have started, all of the ideas, all of the inventions, what about water was like so appealing?
For me, because I helped launch some alcoholic beverage brands that are super popular in these same communities, that these brands are not investing in these communities at all. And, you know, our people in these communities are some of the biggest consumers and customers of these brands. And I just, you know, saw it's a shame. And I didn't want to have a nonprofit. I just knew that, you know, business could do more. There's so much money on the table. If we just, you know, propped up more value on the community as stakeholders and not just profits, we can make money and make a difference. And so with my experience in the alcohol beverage industry, I had saw that some of these distributors, I had managed sales forces of some of the largest beverage distributors in the United States, and they have bottled water. I wasn't part of selling any of that. But so I knew that I had some context with the distribution that were in the water business. And if I was helping to some brands when I was feeling like we were exploiting these communities, well, how do I undo that, right? So we're going to use water sales and part of our profits to invest in these communities, not exploit these communities and do it right. And so that's where the water tide came into. There's a lot of parallels in the sales lane with the beverage sales, whether it's water, alcohol, tea, energy.
Anything you want to do. Right. I think that makes perfect sense though, because, you know, I can relate. And I love that you mentioned that a lot of these businesses, or a lot of these, even like, you know, food and beverage, really across any industry, you know, seeing and the difference between seeing a community and seeing the people as stakeholders versus simply profit-based, you know, people. I grew up in the Bronx, New York. And so I totally understand. And when I'm thinking through
Boogie down.
Yes, the Boogie Down Bronx. So I understand too, that people feel that. People feel the difference when it comes to when you're looking at them or when you're coming into their community and just taking versus giving. And so
absolutely.
I think that's the difference between your community.
Well, you say you're from the Bronx. I actually got the idea about having a kind of a benefit corporation or social enterprise, if you will, from a case study of a company that's in Yonkers. So, you know, adjacent to the Bronx, called Grayston's Bakery. And they provide all the fudge for Ben and Jerry's. If you ever had any Ben and Jerry's ice cream with fudge, and it comes from this bakery. But I won't get into all that, but it's a fascinating story what they've done. They got TED Talks, and they've ended up buying projects in the Yonkers and turning it into housing for their employees, because they paying good, but the employees were living in poor conditions. And so it inspired me. And so we're on that path. We got much more to do, big visions, big goals that we're going to accomplish.
That's the way to go.
Yes, exactly. To look into that company too. That's great. Like, how about you break it down for the people, you know, who want to potentially also build a community-based business? So again, like you're saying, it's not a nonprofit, but at the same time, you baked in nonprofit values into your business. Like, what does it mean, or what are the first, let's say, couple steps for someone to do who wants to have a business, but really wants to be ingrained in the community and do good for the community that they're serving?
I'll first just address one thing first, why not a nonprofit for us? And we work with nonprofits. So, and we couldn't make a community impact without their partnership. Watch Community Corps, Think Watch Foundation. I didn't want the financial restrictions. I didn't want the government saying what we couldn't do. And, you know, and also I wanted to be able to show that you didn't have to choose between corporate greed, what I experienced, and just nonprofit, where I felt like too many of them are subjected to begging for money almost to do what they want to do in their mission. Great missions, but you know, you need funding to these missions, and without donations, they, you know, can't do it. So I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to be able to have a product that would fund our mission. So that's why we did that. And so back to the steps, and I'll let Brandon chime in too, because he's been along every step of the way. I would say getting into the community, or where you want to make the impact, and listening, being present, was the best thing we did. We showed up to the Watts Neighborhood Council meetings for 6 months before we even started selling product, and showing up, letting them know our plans, what we want to do, and listening to the community. And a lot of it was just us being at the meetings and hearing other people get up and talk about the issues and what was being done about it and what wasn't being done about it. And that helped get us buy-in from the community. And then I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months of being there before we got up. You know, you fill out this card for your 15 minutes, whatever, to speak and to address. And so I would recommend the first step is being present in the community that you want to impact with your social enterprise or benefit corporation, whether that's like Tom's Shoes and it's somewhere in villages in South America, or whatever you're doing here in South Central or Skid Row. Show up and be there. That has intrinsic value itself to those people. Just they see somebody there that cares. So I think that's the most important step.
Yeah, I'd say definitely listening, like a lot of listening, a lot of research, like research the history of the area that you're going into, the community that you're trying to help if you're not from that community. And yet make sure that you are making a commitment for a bit before any type of traction of any kind of business that you're trying to like push like from or through that community. Like you got to show not only that there's a commitment, but that you're willing to help spread that commitment to have other people come on board with you.
Right.
because a lot of this time we've been growing a lot of our we have had volunteers in and out of Aqua Equity come to different nonprofits. And there's always people. I always tell people too, like, let me know if you ever want to get involved in anything. Mm-hmm. These are the nonprofits that we work with. And like my job, my head, outside of like pushing Aqua Equity for sales, is to really highlight these nonprofits and try to get them traction. Mm-hmm. And then also not only just commitment to showing up, but then like what added value can you add? Like with Ryan leading our entrepreneur training program, that's super added value that he's adding to Watts Community Core. And with me, I also add my value through content. A lot of times I'll be showing up at the nonprofits or these events, community events, and I'll shoot content for the company of the nonprofit for free, just so that they can have to post. There's a lot of value. And so like, so they can help spread awareness. Because one thing I noticed when I came into this whole space and I started managing Aqua Equity's social, I would start following so many nonprofits within South LA and really just researching them and reading about them. And one thing I really noticed was that consistently, a lot of people don't really have great content. Right. And so I saw that as a value that I could really add, so that whenever we do like, hey, not only will we do a donation towards your event, but I want to help you out with content so people can see what value you're adding, what impact you're making, so people can be open to making more. Yeah. A lot of times if they can't see it and they don't know what to give to.
Absolutely. If you don't happen to have a great creator at your disposal with your social enterprise. I'm
saying, like, listen, not everyone is blessed to have such an amazing videographer and photographer on their team. And that's probably why their content is a little So it's a great value to have and to be able to share that with other people, because it is hard. We, as content creators ourselves, it's very hard to come up with things and post things all the time and make it look pretty and nice, because that's what that's what the people want to see. They want it to
stresses me out. Like,
man, we're behind
every day. Post today.
It didn't post today. How many likes did it get? But between that and the time management between being that creative head, but also, as you mentioned, doing sales, like really heavy into the business. So it's interesting. And I think it's a unique perspective to have someone who can mind the field between both. Because sometimes it's not that they don't have the time or they don't want to. It's more so we can't even think about what
we can't think about tomorrow without going back 5 steps backwards, because I have other things I'm trying to handle and balance. So and the other thing,
we recognize each other's strengths too. So like I leave it up to him, his wheelhouse, what we should be posting on social media. I don't touch that. And then he's busy enough, so he lets me and we have another co-founder, Crystal Jackson, out here today, focus on the sales, and JT Rogan does his thing. But yeah, we kind of all have our lanes, and those are getting carved out more and more. But it's a big help that I can just like let you handle all that social media, creativity, content, storytelling. Go.
Right. And you guys mentioned a lot about like the profits, your nonprofits, and the organizations that you're working with. We want to know, again, like, to help the people in the audience who want to learn more about this process, how do you pick your nonprofits? Like, what are the reasons? I mean, I know we mentioned the 3 pillars is the education, the community. So what else is it that you are like, you know what, we want to partner with them? And then how do you even pitch yourself to make them want to engage with you and feel invited?
It just went back to us being in the neighborhood, showing up to those community council meetings monthly, talking to the people there. And, at first, they're skeptic, because they get different people bopping in, bopping out, seeing if they can take advantage of a grant or this or whatever. And so it wasn't probably 3 or 4 months until before we started feeling the warmth and welcome and saying, okay, let me connect you with this person doing that. And there's a ton of nonprofits. They're not all doing the same impact. So we wanted to we want to be careful who we partnered with, right? And so we were very thankful. The president of Watts Neighborhood Council at the time, I believe still is Storm Hawkins, I think. And so she, on behalf of Watts Neighborhood Council, emailed us and said, hey, you should connect with Sticks and Think Watts. He's doing so much. So we looked at his Instagram, looked at his nonprofit, and what he was doing was amazing. And we connected with him, and that was 2020 in April last year. April 2020.
Yeah.
And so he was the first one. Then he connected us to another nonprofit. And then when you start doing these events, other people see and reach out to you.
Yeah.
And so now we're doing events of people reaching out to us. We hardly reach out to people now. We're just doing our thing, and then people are seeing it and hitting us up.
And there's always nonprofits who need some type of water, some other things like that. A lot of times too, if it's not only like nonprofits now, but a lot of it will be a lot of like small Black businesses, you know, like maybe it's someone who's a yoga instructor who's having a outdoor workout and she's trying to promote mental health, you know, among her audience.
Yeah.
And so those are certain things that we'll support too, because that still aligns within our pillars.
Right. And I would say we have a desire to get into 3 other neighborhoods and communities in California, and then go outside of California. So we want to get into San Bernardino. They had filed for bankruptcy in the last like 5 years. It's a Black and brown city, and then like Oakland. But so our challenge is we're at that place now, trying to connect with the right nonprofit who is impacting that community to come in through them with our business and to prop them up and get involved in the community. So we've been searching for that in San Bernardino and Oakland now for at least 6 months, since October last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so we make some progress, and then it stalls out, and so but once we get it together, the impact, it does that hockey stick curve.
Yeah. And it'll probably take us going up there and doing something,
right, for sure,
where they see us in person. So
yeah, I just want to say, like, the water is like such an ingenious product, because everyone needs water. We all need hydration. We also, that is, y'all, that was a very smart, it's a very, very smart plan, because everyone needs to drink water. So that's ingenious. Right. It's ingenious.
Right. You can't bar us out of anywhere. You need water everywhere. The bars, the clubs, the stores, Disneyland, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to touch on too. I know you mentioned Watts and you've been involved in Watts too, but I want to just get a quick, instance as to why Watts, because neither of you are from Watts.
Right. No. Yeah. Great question.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Why there?
So Watts is historically. I mean, I took Black Studies in college, and a big history buff, and longtime resident of California, all over California. And Watts is historically our Blackest community we have in California, with a lot of history going back to the 40s, 50s, and the 65 revolt. And so it has and it's known all over the world with an kind of a ominous reputation, right? And I wanted to invest in it. And I did some research on the community of Watts and looked at the demographics when I was in grad school. And the median income is like $13,000, right? And the California median income, I believe, is like $50,000. So it's almost like a third world community demographic, money wise, right here in LA, in California. So it's absurd. And so, just a lot of Black pride, and like our community shouldn't be like that. And let's invest in it. Let's have they've done great with Harlem and investing in Harlem. And why can't we do that here in California with Watts?
I love that, because I think it kind of goes to, as I was thinking through when you're saying you've been researching the last 6 months in terms of your next goal and your next places, is this kind of things that you're looking for? Like, 1, prevalence of the Black community, 2, what their median income is like, 3, just our personal connection on it. I'm curious as to why you mentioned Watts, but when you're looking at other places, and yes, you want to look at other nonprofits that you can partner with, but what other things are you looking at from a business perspective to say, yes, it's going to be community based, but
and yes, it aligns with my values,
the pillars.
Right. A lot of it is some type of personal connection, because we want to be authentic. We don't want to come in there just to like, this is going to be great for our brand and we can sell a lot of water with this. We want to have a personal connection to the community, either, directly or through a friend of ours pulling us in. Somebody needs to pull us in, invite us in. With San Bernardino, that's where I'm originally from, born and raised, and there was an Air Force base there, and my mom was there, and they closed that down. We moved to Northern California when I was in junior high school, And so I went to junior college in Oakland, Laney College. So I lived in Oakland for a few years, had a lot of friends in Oakland. So I have ties to Oakland. We played football. Some of our teammates from Oakland, Josh Johnson, he has a great foundation in West Oakland with Marshawn Lynch and DeMarcus Peters, Fan First Family. So we have a connection there. So we're looking for communities. We have connection. We know some folks from Flint, Michigan. And these are communities, the parallel is these are Black and brown cities that are urban, under-resourced communities that need investment. And we're not waiting on the government, we're not waiting on anything like that. And we want to start a movement and show like we are I got a chance when I was in corporate beverage sales to look from a marketing perspective at demographic spending, broke down racially demographic, right? And we are some of the biggest Black people consumers per capita of what we bring in, the percentage of our income on consumable goods. And most of those companies, right, that we spend our money with don't care about our communities and don't reinvest, right? So we want to have more great premium products that Black and brown people can invest in that are reinvesting back into communities. And I think that will help close the equity gap, and more wealth circulating through.
I love the pillars and the things that you're saying. First, I just wanted to give a shout out to Flint, Michigan, because that's where my mom's from. Yeah. So I know that we
might need to highlight your mom. What's up?
She definitely I know they had that whole water crisis. I think they're still going through the water crisis. So, I think that is an amazing area to look into. But I really commend both of you guys for really being thoughtful about the way that you guys carry your brand, what you guys partner with, the messaging that you guys are giving. I know right now it's a little trendy to be on this whole Black Lives Matter train. But at the same time, this is not new to us. You know what I'm saying? Us being Black is not new over here. So we've been Black our whole Black lives. And so it's nothing new for us, but for everyone else, they're kind of getting on this trend. But I commend for you guys making that change, wanting to be the change you want to see. So
yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, so thank you.
There it is. So we talked about the idea. We talked about the product. Right. I want to talk a little bit about the packaging. You showed that water. You could show it up again, but the fact that it switched up or what was the reasoning for going to aluminum? There's so many different water brands out there, so many different things that they're doing. Talk about the packaging and how it mattered and when it goes back to your pillars.
I say it comes down to sustainability. And at the time, we're thinking about it and we're looking at pollution and we have this little plastic bottle. And even in the Watts Neighborhood Council meeting, they're talking about the city moving away from plastic. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those things kind of triggered within the trends of that. And really just reading more about it, because at the time too, shortly before that, I may not even think twice before buying a plastic water bottle, right, and then tossing it out.
Yeah.
But now I'm a lot more conscious about that. And so once I really just relearn to realize the impact that really does have on the environment and how much this shift can really help just in general. I thought it was a smart decision. And once I saw the bottles, okay, I can move with this too. Because at first when I'm thinking it can't see the water, but then that's always a first concern. But then when you think of, the type of impact, and when I saw the label on it and stuff, I was okay, this is really something that I could get.
We didn't even know it exists, right? We were thinking we're going to have our bottle look like Life Water or Smart Water, with premium. It's in a rounded bullet shape. Yeah. And the co-packer we were using at the time just said, knew that we were in the premium space and that we wanted to do something more sustainable. And they said, would you think about doing aluminum? And it was 3 times the cost. So, we're bootstrapping. So that was a real value proposition. But, just bouncing off of Brandon, and we saw the bottle, it just aligned more with our mission of investing into the community. So, we're trying to close the financial social equity gap, but at the same time, we want to pollute the environment, right? So we want to be able to touch multiple points, and it end up helping us with other consumers that maybe aren't as focused on social equity, but in the environment they're focused, that's their hot button, right? Other stores that don't care about social equity, but they do care about the planet. So it helped that way too. Also,
question, just to even add on to that. Can you give us like the benefits of like doing aluminum versus plastic? I like maybe people, I don't know. I'm not super educated on that whole environment. Like I love to recycle. I always recycle, but I don't know.
So aluminum is infinitely recyclable. So there's like not a limit to how many times you recycle this. And plastic, a lot of the time it's one and done. And a lot of plastic is, even when you do actually recycle it, you make a lot more money on aluminum than on recycle.
Twice.
Yeah.
So that affects the amount of, what do they call it? The recyclability rate.
Yeah.
They look at like, so even though there's plastics that can be recycled, the percentage of people actually do it is half the amount of aluminum. Is 67. Was that the last statistic we saw?
Yeah.
67% of the consumed aluminum products are recycled versus plastic, I think, is at 35%. So the recyclability rate is higher with aluminum, and our bottles are reusable. So they're mini canteens. So it's going to help reduce the carbon footprint because you're going to reuse the same bottle.
That's amazing.
I love that.
We didn't talk about it. Keeps the water colder, just aluminum, the conduction of the water and the metal. So that's a benefit too.
Those are great points. And kind of based on what you're saying, let's get into the money a little bit. So for instance, the fact that there might be people out there want to be, do something for the community, want to have at least a, community or corporate social responsibility aspect to their businesses, but are very concerned about the money, about how to be financially stable, especially when you're first starting out. And so I want to make sure, and you mentioned it earlier, 10% of your proceeds are going to the Watts community. You just mentioned the fact that you're
at least 10%.
At least 10% are going to the Watts community. You just mentioned your bottling and how, even though you decided consciously to go towards that, it's 3 times the amount of what you could have done. Right. And so that's again cutting into cost.
And in the beginning, you didn't have any money.
Didn't, right. And just starting off, not having, starting off, at a level that a lot of people who would start off like really bootstrapping. Just talk about how does that dynamic play into
how do you balance all your finances? How are you able to be financially stable?
Yeah. So we started off, I would, if I give a word of advice to an entrepreneur, take care of your credit score, because when you're starting off, you're going to be the personal guarantor of the business, even though it's, it's under the business name and all that, still somebody has to guarantee that we're going to pay this loan back or line of credit. Or so unless you have some, rich aunties or uncles that help you out invest, usually you're going to get some form of line of credit or try to get a small business loan. And so, having a good credit score is a must. So we start off with a business line of credit. We bank with Chase. So we did that, and that helped us to get going. And you just have to start off small, and a lot of planning and making sure you're not overextending yourself. And so we just like baby steps, and we're at a point now where we are getting ready to take on a bunch of big customers, right? And we have to make sure we have enough inventory and the capability to deliver that, which means hiring through either part-time, full-time folks, getting more inventory, being able to store that. So we have to invest to anticipate this, but it's like this balancing act, right? You don't want to overspend before you don't even get paid for 30 days with these big customers. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's exciting because it's our thing.
Yeah. And then and with all this, it kind of, with being such a small team, you see what you can handle as far as your focus. And like, let's say with us, like we may not be able to power through e-com and do all the crazy stuff that we want to, because we may not have that certain support within like paid ads or social media management. Like I manage our social, but I also work a full-time job as well, And so like I can only do so much, but then we see like our opportunities that we gone through business to business sales. And so that's something that we've leaned into, and something that we've seen like, okay, what places are going to need a lot of water? And really that's what you think about that. And that's what you think about the customer base, because especially in shipping in general, these bottles is not cheap because they're heavy. And so you're thinking of, okay, it's best if people buy this in bulk. So what universities, hospitals, production sets. Like production sets has been kind of something that's been keeping us busy now.
Thank you, Issa Rae. Thank you, Melina Massey.
Yeah, and so like with that, it's like, okay, we get that out for like one show and we stay busy. And so like, what's not for us to have 10 shows from 5 different studios, Yeah. And so like, that's like a certain goal we have in mind at least. And with that, that's like, yeah, that sets us up nicely.
And what I've learned through this experience, and we've been reading a lot of venture capitalist books and things like that, entrepreneurship books, is you got to have a team.
Yeah.
You got to have a great team. You got to have folks that are going to be in it to win it. It takes a lot of faith and belief in the beginning because you don't have the manifestation of the fruits of your labor yet, right? So the team got to stay enthusiastic. Let's go. We can do this. Yes, we can. And everybody's doing it for free basically in the beginning. It's probably a poor choice of words, but nobody's getting paid right now. It's an investment. We're putting in sweat equity because we believe we're going to get paid. The payoff is going to come later. And you got people on your team that have that shared belief and value to make it go.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about adding to that value.
So we got to shout out Crystal Jackson. She's not here.
Yeah.
JT Rogan's not here.
Yeah.
Sticks is not here. Part of our team.
Because those are 3 co-founders. Yeah, that those add to our added values like a lot, because me and Ryan can only do so much, and there's stuff that Crystal does, especially Crystal being the only woman within our team. And so like just her being that voice and have that presence, and her perspective in general. Because at the end of the day, it's like 3 meatheads and then her, and she's like trying to control us.
Yeah, so, rein it in.
Yeah.
I love that we're like in that stage too right now of just like building, like, there's 2 of us, but then it's like we can only do so much. We have all these ideas, all these things we want to do, and it's like we can't all get it done and do 9 to 5. So it's like we get it right now. We're in that like building team stage. Yes, we have one PR person. We just maybe have a writer. So it's like
we're trying to keep that energy consistent, right?
Exactly. And so kind of off that energy, the fact that I want to give you guys a moment to speak to your entrepreneurship program that you do within the Watts community as well. Like why specifically entrepreneurship? We mentioned why Watts, and the time that it perhaps takes from your team to also dedicate towards that community in that capacity, not just monetary donations.
And then also tell us how it all connects with like selling the water, with like your entrepreneurship program and how all of the things work.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, going back to realizing, when I was in grad school, there's not a lot of Black ownership. I mean, that's common knowledge, right? Not a lot of Black ownership. And so when we started Aqua Equity and we thought about how can we impact the community, what does the community need? Well, I went to grad school. This guy is a business owner, bachelor's degree. So we on our team, we got 5 people with college degrees that have entrepreneurship experience. And we realized going to college was a great experience for us, but it's not for everybody, right? And they need the information and an opportunity more than they necessarily need a degree. And so they don't know what they don't know in communities. And so we want to go and share what we've learned and kind of spark movement of innovators in the next wave of entrepreneurs. And we teach about, it's a mindset shift. So if you've been born and raised in these under-resourced urban communities, you've been miseducated. That's just facts. And so we're trying to do some of that. And we say, like, if you knew better, you would do better. And so we're showing them that, yes, we're not bashing being an employee, but you're going to learn things as an employee that you can take as an entrepreneur. And the ultimate goal is your own ownership. You're intelligent enough, you're smart enough. You just need to get the information and get an opportunity. And it's a big need, and there's so many talented folks in the community. And so I think it's great that we can invest in, so the nonprofits we work with, they do a lot of feeding, but it's that whole mantra, like you could give a person a fish and feed them for a day, or teach them how to fish and they can feed themselves.
Yeah. I think that's like that's a really big importance of it. And I think it comes down to even seeing like a lot of these kids who may have great ideas, but them not being able to know how to execute it, and just the fact that they could have some type of tool that could help them be like, oh, well, I could just do this and this, and I could potentially get this funded, and then this could happen, then I won't have to struggle working at this place all my life trying to provide, and just end up just repeating that cycle of just working for somebody else and just not making your own way. I think that's really a big thing, because a lot of people, they may have hopes and dreams, but are scared to go about it because in their mind, no one around them are even pushing for that. They don't see that done. So just bringing in people, just bringing in even like the important students, like even on top of like Ryan's great teaching week by week, just the guest speakers that are coming in and just showing like the impact, like, and showing like their lives and the lives that, and showing that path that they took to get where they are, you know, and then them being open and telling their experience to them and giving these kids inspiration so they could take that inspiration home. And really it's all about like just them being able to share this knowledge, you know, have a mind shift, and like it's contagious.
You know, we should tell them. So the program is a project-based entrepreneurship program. That's 12 weeks. So they learn the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. They have a textbook they're given. And then they're going to learn a business plan on the lean canvas one-page template for their business or service idea. They're also going to have a template on a pitch deck. So it's going to translate from that one-page lean canvas business plan to their pitch deck template. And then they're going to practice the skills of elevator pitch without a pitch deck, just bringing their points and bridging that together and learning how to get a follow-up meeting from that. And then ultimately, at the end of the 12 weeks, it's going to culminate to them presenting their business idea to a panel with a pitch deck. So there's kind of a pitch competition, for lack of a better word, but there's other elements to it. And we have prizes for the top 3 students, $3,000 for the first place, second place gets $2,000, and third place $1,000, just to help them pay for their filing fees, articles of organization, and that type of thing. And we learned, this is our first, our first go around was November 21st through February 13th. And we learned some things we're applying now. So we didn't have a cash award the first time. So this is going to help with better student engagement and retention, because at the level they're coming in, they don't value the knowledge that they're getting and how that's going to help them with the opportunity. So this is a carrot to get them in, and we're excited about it. We expect big things to come out of it.
So 2 things.
May 1st we start.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that the link to apply is on your Instagram.
Yeah, so it's on, if you go on our Instagram, it's on our link tree, and we have a link to register.
Yep, it's at the STEM lab in the Nickerson Gardens with Watts Community Core. So they have other educational programs there, like robotic programming. We have enough space to do the social distance for 28 students. We'll have probably 8 different entrepreneur guest speakers coming through either Zoom or in person to share their personal journey and best practices of entrepreneurship. So it's going to be a great, robust class. It's probably the equivalent of 3 college courses in one. So, yeah.
That's great.
I signed up for this class.
How does that then tie in? You know, you're thinking about your next steps, and for Aqua Equity, how does this program tie into your next steps? And even if not the next steps, how does it tie into what you're doing now, and specifically the business aspect of what you're doing with Aqua Equity?
Well, I would say it all circles around the impact, because I think at the end of the day too, like we are selling water, but with water, it's more about the movement that you bring with it. You know, like you see Just Water and the movement that they have going with them, or Life Water, and you see their angle. And I wanted us to be about Ryan and his story and the opportunity that he got, and him wanting to give opportunities to others. And so with that, it's like this type of program could have been, this probably is like the most aligned with our business. And then ultimately, what I would want is an incubator, and this having it to where it's set up all over the country in every underserved diverse community, because even from like DC and like PG County, and having like, instead of having influencers, people who just wave the bottle around, but having the community leaders, having them being able to lead and activate these youth educational and sports programs in these communities, you know, and so really being able to hold them accountable for like the impact they make. And so with that, it was like, we're not only, like getting our water into these like stadiums, leagues, other things that like maybe it's a community leader that happens to be on the sports team. So we get into their stadium, you know? And so just seeing all the areas that not only our product can be touched, but also the different ways that we could touch the individuals within those communities. And so it's like, and so I think it's like, I really wanted to have that type of angle as far as influencer. It's just like our nonprofits. We're very like, you know, as far as like vetting our nonprofit and seeing where the actual angle is. It's like, and seeing what like our influencer base is and how authentic we want to be like through them.
And where the entrepreneur training program can go, as you mentioned, the incubator vision. So we want to have an incubator in the Watts district, and we want to also kind of tie that in. We're going to have a bottling facility our own in the Watts district. And so we want it to be a co-packing place where if another entrepreneur has an idea about a beverage brand that they want to start and they need somebody to bottle it and pack it up for them, that they can maintain their own ownership, and, you know, we can have a program to help them get their bottle and their brand to market. So we're going to kind of tie it in, the incubator into that. And obviously everybody won't go into the beverage industry, but we want to kind of have some apprenticeship opportunities where you can still be around a business and learn some of those best practices that you haven't been exposed to before. So that's where we're taking it.
I mean, honestly, very, very well said. I have a question. I feel like it's like last leading question, right? What does creating good mean to you?
I think creating good means creating a sort of energy that has a positive intention. You know, it's like when we do, like we just had Earth Day last week, Nickerson Gardens, and we had a good showing of volunteers. And even after that, I had more people wanting to get involved in things like that, asking us, when's the next one? Or like, hey, maybe we could do this one. And like Children's Institute, they want to do more consistent cleanups. And so with this one good that we created, which was this event, we end up sparking inspiration for other good to be created. And so it's all about kind of like just that chain reaction of just like, really, like we say, drink good, do good. And we really live by that. And so that you, not only do you stay hydrated to stay healthy, but you also are giving back, because not only this is showing a good example to our youth, but it's just making a positive impact on the community in general.
And I'll add to that. I mean, we are really addressing a mindset and emotional. There's a lot of post-traumatic stress in these communities. Like we did our Earth Day cleanup on Thursday, and we're cleaning around the playground with 2 memorials that just happened a couple of days before that. 2 people were murdered there, right? You know, outside the playground. So it's more than just a material impact. We're trying to also make an emotional, mental impact for good. And so that's showing up, showing the people in the community that other people outside the community care and want to help, and not making them feel like they're getting a hand out, but we're trying to give you a hand up. And you can, you know, when you spend enough time there, that people will start to trust you and see you're for real. Then the people in the community come up to you and thank you themselves. And that's when you really know that you're doing good and what good looks like.
That's great. And I think the biggest thing from all of this is just the idea of even folks who want to start these community-based businesses or for-profit businesses that have community at its core. It's just showing up. And it sounds like that's step 1, step 2, step
learning,
3, and step 4.
Showing up and listening.
Showing up and listening. Exactly. You know what else you guys can show up for is the Black Creators Club. So the best way that you can repay us is to share the show with a friend, to subscribe to our YouTube page, or on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Everything is at the Black Creators Club. And when you do, please leave a review on our show or comment and let us know what you think. We will read fan shout outs on the air or get a good little kiki via one-on-one on behind the scenes. But whatever you do, just feel free to contact us at theblackcreatorsclub@gmail.com. If you want to talk about different guests, talk about different topics, we will take it into consideration and make sure that this is something that we're doing to help you guys. So, again, everything is at the Black Creators Club.
Yes. Do we have time for this game?
I feel like we teased up the game. Let's play the game. We gotta play the game. It's gonna be very.
We're gonna play the game. So the game is called Thirsty or Not. So we're going to read kind of like a little log line or a little tagline from different water companies, and you guys are going to tell us if you're thirsty for the water or not thirsty for the water.
Yes.
Like, so I mean, we like it or don't like it, or we.
Right, you want to drink it. If you're thirsty for it, you want to drink it. If you're not, then you pass.
I'm a nice guy, so all right.
Guess what? We won't say the name of the water. If you know the name of the water brand, feel free to share it because this is your community. But we won't share it. We won't say the name.
In case you want to pass on it and you want to work with them later. We don't know.
So it's going to be the log line, but then we also have a Twitter piece that some folks who were fans of it may have commented on and said something about the water itself. So
all right,
one of the two. All right.
Cool.
Okay, so the first one is this water is supercharged with ionized alkaline water. It has a pH of 9.5 or higher. It's clean, smooth taste. Are we thirsty for it? Or are we
I'll thirst for it. Good alkaline water. They got Patrick Mahomes behind them. I won't say no about that water.
Brandon?
Thirst for it.
Yeah, you know, when I think of 9.5 and higher, it's a little pushing on the acidity. But you know, I'll drink it.
I think you're being nice. I think he wants to say pass.
Yeah,
that's competitive in it.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard because when you know it off the bat. And
yes. This water is essential water for those of you who know. Yep, essential water. And someone commented on their Twitter was like, "It's my daily go-to water. It stays in my refrigerator and on my treadmill." So
hey, if you had some stock in there, or you were a part of that company, they just sold for like $1 billion, right, to Coca-Cola.
Something like that. Yeah.
Coca-Cola just bought at least a people for $1 billion. Yeah, they're winning over there, Essentia.
Interesting. Well,
you guys need to apparently start investing your money in some water companies.
Aqua Equity, come on.
Yes. So this one, get the most out of every day with the pure, crisp taste of blank water. And someone else, not so nice Twitter troll, mentioned, how does it feel to literally have the worst water on planet Earth?
That's cold. Oh,
this water or not?
I know. I think I know what it is.
You do? I don't even know what it is, but with that, I can't drink that. I can't be thirsty for that.
Yeah.
What is it, Brandon? What is it? Please tell us.
I won't say names.
Is there?
Say what it was.
Is there a mountain on the bottle?
It could be. No, not on this bottle. This one is Dasani.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Ryan, I feel you with the mountains on the arrowhead. I'm sorry, boo boo. That's not for me.
Man, they made it hard for us to sell our spring water. We told people we got spring water, like Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Arrowhead is not the wave. It's so funny because I grew up on Arrowhead and I drink it all the time, and then I was like, "This is trash."
Then you knew better.
I don't know what it is, but this just don't taste right. Okay. The last one, it says 100% responsible source spring water, paper-based, carton cap from sugarcane, making an impact, 1 carton at a time. Someone said on Twitter, the case is great. I like it, but I never drink it.
Oh, thirsty.
Yeah, thirsty.
I know that water.
That water. What kind of water is that? How about
just water?
It is just water. It is just water.
Okay, you guys, I am actually very pleasantly surprised that you guys knew the waters. I mean, not saying that you guys wouldn't because you guys, this is your business, but I was like, girl, if you're gonna make them guess, I
was like, they're gonna guess this.
I know this is gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess because we research so much and we're just like
taglines, what their mission is it consistent with their messaging, and
especially certain packaging. Like
we follow all the different water brands. We see them.
We know which ones are more sustainable and which ones just don't care and put a celebrity behind it.
Yeah.
So
while we're on this topic of log lines and taglines or whatever, please give the people your tagline and log line and explain what's in the water. Like, let us know.
Do good.
Yes.
So we have an electrolyte version and we have a Pure Mount Spring version. So the electrolyte is enhanced with potassium, magnesium, and calcium. So it makes the water taste better. Plus, think about like the hydration fact, Gatorade without the sugar kind of benefit. And then we have a pure mountain spring water from Montana, has a natural pH of 7.8. And so we have a lot of consumers who just want pure, untouched water, just bottled. Nice. And so that's where that comes in.
Nice. This was such a great episode.
Oh my God.
There's
you guys gave us
a wealth of information.
So much information.
And we
love too much. Probably like word vomit.
Never too much. But you know, for the folks who may want to learn more about you or stay in touch with Aqua Equity after listening to this episode, can you give the people where to find you on social? Brandon, tell them where to find all the hard work you're doing.
Right.
At Aqua Equity. You'll find us there on Instagram and
aquaequitywater.com.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
Yes. And you'll find us in Watts every week, especially on Fridays and Saturdays teaching the class. Come through the Nickersons or Community Center, Civic Center on 103rd. You'll find us around there.
Yeah. If you're looking for any volunteer opportunities, follow our account. We always share them. And then if you're open Friday mornings, Watts Community Corps, definitely in Nickerson Gardens. Food drive, we always need volunteers, and there's a lot of programs they're trying to bring to life right now, and so they would always accept donations as well.
Sure.
So
I think we're gonna have to take a Friday off or a morning off or something.
Please come on out.
Come out.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, you can find me chatting business, pop culture, and lifestyle at Aquila Friend. Ebony?
Yes, and you can find me on Instagram chatting everything Black-owned businesses at Ebony Chapman 12.
And of course, keep up with the Black Creators Club at the Black Creators Club. And as always, creators, always abide by your ABCs.
Always be creating. See you later.